The sky above Vargal Prime glowed violet at dusk, the twin moons lifting over the jagged crystal mountains. The wind whistled against the towering spires of the Vargon Imperium, carrying with it the chittering calls of winged insects and the distant hum of hover caravans. In the midst of this alien serenity, Karan Val Shakar walked alone along the elevated promenade, her silver eyes reflecting the sunset like fractured glass. Tonight was supposed to have been her binding ceremony, the moment her life was meant to align with another's. But instead of celebration, Karan wore the ceremonial gown of unpaired daughters, a muted gray that marked her status for all to see, unfit for lineage, incapable of bringing new life to her people. Among the Vargans, strength was revered, but fertility was sacred. Their world was harsh, every birth a triumph. And Karan, despite her lineage as the eldest daughter of the Shakar warrior bloodline, had been declared infertile after her coming-of-age assessment cycles. It had spread through the noble houses like a shadow, first whispers, then stares, then avoidance. Her intended partner had cancelled the binding just hours before the ceremony, delivering the notice through an officer rather than in person. A union without offspring serves no purpose, the message read. May your path still find meaning. Karan didn't cry. She'd done that months ago, alone in her family chamber, silent so her sisters wouldn't hear. Now she walked through the crowd, chin high, though pitying glances brushed against her like needles. Look, the barren one, someone whispered from a balcony cafe. Her parents must be ashamed. She should have volunteered for off-world service. Better than staying here. Karan kept walking. Each word stabbed, but she would not bow. Her path led toward the edge spire, where transport shuttles descended in spiraling light. Diplomats, merchants, and, most recently, humans arrived through that port. Humanity was new to the political landscape, their strange resilience earning curiosity from warrior cultures, suspicion from noble houses, and fascination from young cadets. Karan had never met one. Until tonight. A sudden commotion rippled through the promenade. A group of armored Vargon soldiers escorted newcomers, humans in rugged field gear, their uniforms bearing unfamiliar symbols. They walked with confident steps, their faces exposed, unmasked and unarmored despite the biting wind. One among them walked slightly apart, scanning the crowd as if memorizing every detail. His dark hair was tied back, his jaw marked with a faint scar, and though he was shorter than most Vargans, his posture radiated unyielding strength. At his hip, he carried a sheathed blade, not ceremonial, but functional, worn by use. The crowd parted as the group passed, yet Karan, lost in thought, did not step aside quickly enough. She collided lightly with the human soldier, barely enough to jar her balance, but it drew every gaze. The soldier steadied her with a gloved hand. "Apologies," he said, his voice low, warm. "You all right?" Karan blinked. Humans spoke without layered honorifics, without ritual phrasing. The simplicity disarmed her. "Yes," she replied. "I am unharmed." A Vargon lieutenant scowled. "Human, do not touch noble daughters without permission." The soldier met the officer's glare without backing down. "I was preventing her from falling." Karan stepped forward before tempers could ignite. "I am Karan Val Shakar." The human acted with care. "No offense taken." The lieutenant stiffened, then bowed. "As you say, Lady Shakar." The human inclined his head slightly, not submission, Karan realized, but acknowledgement. "Name's Marcus Hale," he said. "Earth Coalition Forces, Reconnaissance Division." Their eyes met, hers silver like stormlight, his dark as the void between stars. Then the crowd surged again, and he disappeared into it. The strength within. Fate, or coincidence, brought them together again 3 nights later at the Warborn Gallery, where ancient holographic murals recounted battles that forged the Imperium. Karan visited often. The quiet halls gave her a sense of purpose when her path felt uncertain. She found Marcus standing alone before the mosaic of Talaris the Unburning, a legendary general who emerged from a plasma fire with armor melted to her skin. You admire our war history, Karen observed as she approached. Marcus glanced over, a faint smile tugging at his lips. I admire resilience. Your people don't quit. Karen felt a flicker inside her chest, something she'd not felt in months. You speak as if humans do? He chuckled. We come from a death world too. Different kind of danger, same stubborn survival. She walked beside him, studying his profile. He wasn't imposing like Vargon warriors, no towering height, no crystal armor, but there was something hardened in his gaze, a quiet fire. Your people, do they consider fertility sacred as well? She asked, the words escaping before she could restrain them. Marcus's eyes softened. We value life, sure, but we value the person more. Ability to bring children into the world, that's not the only measure of worth. Karen inhaled slowly. The simple statement felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Among mine, she said quietly, it is everything. Marcus looked at her, not pitying, not curious, just present. They're wrong, he said. No Vargon had ever said that to her. Not her parents, not her sisters, not her former intended. She felt her throat tighten. They walked through the gallery for hours, discussing battle tactics, honor, the strange humor of humans, the discipline of Vargon soldiers. She discovered he was on temporary assignment, part of a joint task force meant to strengthen relations after conflicts in nearby systems. As they stood at a balcony, the night wind tugging at her cloak, Marcus spoke softly. You carry yourself like a warrior. I was trained to be, Karen answered, but without a binding, I cannot ascend to service. My status hinders me. He studied her, as though seeing through the layers of expectation that weighed her down. Where I come from, he said, standing alone doesn't mean standing lesser. She didn't respond, not because she doubted him, but because part of her wanted to believe. War on the horizon. Weeks passed. Whispers followed Karen, not of pity now, but of curiosity. The infertile noble seen speaking with the human. What does he see in her? Perhaps he does not know her defect. The words stung less now. Until news arrived from the frontier, a Drathian raiding fleet had crossed into Vargon space, striking civilian outposts. Old enemies, scaled and brutal, rejoicing in chaos. The Imperium mobilized. Security around the capital tightened. Marcus was reassigned to a strategic oversight post, though Karen could not reach him through official channels. One night, alarms tore the sky open. Drathian dropships pierced the planetary shield using stolen clearance codes. Warriors clashed across the crystal quarter. Karen watched from her family estate balcony as explosions lit the streets below. Without hesitation, she donned her training armor, medium plating, unadorned except for her family insignia. She seized a shock spear from the armory, ignoring her mother's protests. You are not bound, Karen, her mother pleaded. You have no standing to fight. Karen faced her with steady eyes. Then let them say a barren daughter defended our home when others hesitated. She descended into chaos. The Drathians moved like serpents in the shadows, but she fought with the precision of her bloodline, every strike controlled, every thrust decisive. She freed trapped civilians, guided children into shelters, blocked the retreat of a wounded captain. Her arms burned, legs trembled, but she did not fall. Then, through smoke and collapsing crystal, she saw Marcus. He stood against a Drathian breacher unit, blade flashing, movements lightning fast despite lacking Vargon scale. A warrior 3 times his size lunged. Marcus dodged under the claw strike and drove his blade upward, piercing armor at the joint. The creature shrieked. Before another could flank him, Karen leapt forward, shock spear shattering the Drathian's crest. Together they fought back to back, a dance of instinct and trust, 2 worlds aligning in rhythm. When the last Drathian fell, the street lay strewn with smoking debris. Marcus met her gaze, breathing hard. You fight like your life has meaning, he said. Karen lowered her spear. Because it does. He stepped closer, voice steady despite the chaos. Then why let others decide your worth? She swallowed, heart pounding. Not from battle this time. I no longer intend to, she whispered, ending the claim before the assembly. In the aftermath, the Imperium convened an emergency assembly to honor defenders of the capital. Karen stood among warriors for the first time, not as a noble daughter awaiting binding, but as a fighter whose actions saved lives. Whispers surged when Marcus approached her before the gathered houses, armor dented, blades strapped across his back. The high voice of the Imperium spoke. Marcus Hale of Earth, state your request. The human bowed, not deeply, but respectfully. I request recognition of battle bond rights, he said, voice echoing across the chamber. Gasps rippled through the assembly. Battle bond rights were ancient, a claim of partnership forged in combat, stronger than ceremonial bindings, acknowledged even between species. It was a public declaration of choosing someone as one's mate, or equal, in life and war. Karen's pulse thundered. The high voice narrowed his gaze. Upon whom do you make this claim? Marcus turned toward her. Karen Val Shakar. Warrior. Defender. The strongest person I have ever fought beside. Silence consumed the hall. Some scoffed. Some gawked. But others, especially young warriors, watched with fierce admiration. Karen stepped forward, lifting her chin. I accept. Her voice did not waver. The high voice raised his hand. So witnessed. A ceremonial chime sounded, a recognition older than any fertility decree, more binding than any cancelled promise. As the assembly murmured, Marcus leaned closer, speaking so only she could hear. Infertile doesn't mean incomplete. Tears gathered in her silver eyes, not of sorrow, but release. And choosing me, she whispered, does not lessen you? He shook his head. It completes us. Karen reached for his hand, not as a noble seeking solace, but as a warrior claiming her equal. Outside, the twin moons rose above Vargal Prime, their light casting long shadows that intertwined like paths converging at last. The whispers changed. Not the barren daughter, but the warrior claimed by a human who saw her worth before her people did. And for the first time in years, Karen felt her future expand wider than lineage, burning bright as a star reborn, blazing with promise no decree could take from her.